Today I'm going to start my review of the Vans Old Skool Pro version. I have had 3 pairs of the Vans Old Skool Classic ones and I've hated them. I buy them because they're retro from watching lots of old 411s in 1994, because 3/4 of the girl in chocolate team had at least one line wearing them in Goldfish, and because they're actually wicked in bowls. But in terms of technical skating and just how they generally feel for me on a board, I've always actually hated them. So it's odd that I bought a pair. But once again, I've caved in on the nostalgia and I bought a pair of Old Skools. But it's only been recently that I've learned that there's actually a difference between the Classics and the Pros. So first off, let's look at this insole. This thing literally feels 1/2 inch thick right there. So I kind of felt like I was wearing lifts when I first stepped in them. So I was really worried about how that was going to feel when I started trying to skate them. I've rolled around in them a little bit and they actually don't feel that bad at all. In fact, they do feel better than the Classics already. I'm going to do my warm-up in these today to get an initial first impression of how they feel. I could never heel flip well in the Old Skool Classics, and I've also struggled with kick flips in Vans for some reason. So I'm going to warm up today and get a feel for these shoes and give you my first day impression. And I've kept my foot warm with my glove because it is much too cold for these. And the first thing I want to note is these are not really a winter shoe. I got 1 pair of socks on and I'm feeling it. Anyways, time to jump on them and see how they feel. It's time for the new shoe first kickflip test. I call that a pass. Now let's move on from all this talking and do some actual skating. Well, these definitely passed the first day can I do my flip tricks test, and they also definitely passed the can I do my flip tricks at all test, because the Old Skool Classics was an absolute no. They're unskateable for me on anything other than transition. As usual with Vans, my kick flips are a little unpredictable on the first day because there's a lot of material here. I find Vans are the best after about 2 weeks once you wear a lot of that away. Pleasantly surprised on how well I could get all my heel flips. They still went a tiny bit rockety, but a dramatic improvement from the Classics. Another important thing to note about these over the old ones is there's a lot more material right here. You can see it's thicker, so there's some padding all around here, which makes a dramatic difference. And I think that's probably why my heel flips were feeling pretty good, because there was actually a little bit something there to protect my foot and to grip. I also have to admit, I love the way these look when they're new. When this is all still full and thick and white and everything's still crisp and fresh, I love the way these look when they're new. Okay, so I bought these in the winter and it is now the very early spring. I've got about 2 months of old man winter skating going on in these shoes, and I'd say I'm ready to review them. So let's see how they're doing. Lots of heel flip wear. Holding up pretty decently on kick flips. However, it's starting to blow through right there. Let's check out the switch foot. The switch foot is pretty decent for wear. I don't usually wear out my switch shoes. Now here's something to really note. I'm getting a hole in my shoes here, and I never get holes in my shoes here. So it's definitely the fact that it's a canvas shoe. And let's take a look at the sole. So usually the part that wears out the fastest is right here as I'm kind of scooching my foot for my kick flips. So that's starting to wear a little bit. My right foot is totally fine for wear. Now, just for your reference, it's about 8:30 on a Sunday night. It's been pouring rain all weekend. I haven't gotten to skate, and I am itching for skating. So all I've got at my disposal is a yellow curb and some flat ground, and I'm gonna have some fun on that stuff, and maybe some manuals. We'll see. I think I'm feeling the manuals first. This is like a perfect 90s manual pad. It's like 8 feet long. sign, that's enough of that. I used to have the time to do manual tricks, but I don't know, man. Married men can't manual. We don't have the time for this stuff. Let's get some curbs. I remember back when I was a little turd, the sign of hardcoreness was wearing through a full ply on your skateboard. I spent a whole afternoon one time just slappy nose sliding until I wore through a full ply on my board. So right after my curb session, I must have accidentally semi-unplugged my mic because I got about half an hour of rough footage with zero sound. So what you guys missed in that half hour was I damaged my instep severely. I was doing a frontside flip and I flipped it 3/4 and I landed on the nose primo and I got a really bad bruise in my instep. Fortunately, there was no sound because there was one hell of a loud swear after that. But anyways, you didn't miss too much, so let's wrap up this review. I didn't mind these shoes for the first couple of weeks while they were new, but then what tended to happen, and what does tend to happen with a lot of Vans, is they kind of turn into slippers. So they flop out and mush out. So what happened for me in these is my foot started to kind of pronate inwards, if that's the right word. I'm not sure if I used the right word, but it started to flop this way, and I felt like my foot was always wanting to fall out of my shoe, so it really wasn't very well supported. And now maybe if I was the kind of person that actually liked to lace up my shoes every time, I could have avoided a little bit of that. But earlier in the video, I thought it had decent impact support right around here. After that primo and my bruised instep right now, no, it's pretty bad. The other thing I don't like about them is there's nothing here, right? It's just canvas here, super thin tongue. So whenever your board comes and smacks you in the foot, it's like you're wearing a sock. So I don't like that part. I like at least a little bit of padding around my foot. And lastly, my main problem with these, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, I do have trouble with heel flips in these. Now, it's not entirely perceptible on film. I filmed a whole bunch of heel flips, switch and regular, and took a look at them, and then I filmed them in Nikes, and they didn't really look that much different. But what was different is how confident I am when I'm doing them. But what I mean is my confidence in doing heel flips in these shoes is at 75%. Whereas when I'm wearing some of the other Nikes and Adidas that I've had over the year, I have much higher confidence in my ability to land the heel flips. So the other thing that happens is they rocket a little bit more, so they don't always level out nicely, or the flip goes off center. So it might go a bit this way or a bit that way when I'm flipping. So I like to have it be going directly underneath me, and I like to have it leveling out. And I do struggle with that a little bit in these shoes. So now, with my very bruised instep, I'm gonna risk doing about 5 heel flips for you guys to see if I can make any of them do what I'm talking about. So Murphy's Law, they were all pretty decent. Let's see if we can notice any difference in the Nikes. So ironically, I think I was actually doing them better in the Vans. Although, I've been skating the Vans for roughly 6 weeks, so I'm much more used to them, whereas the Nikes, I'm still getting the feel for the flick again. Now I want to be clear, Vans are not bad for heel flips. They have a heavy hitting lineup of heel flippers. I just don't like the way they feel when I do them, and it's actually, I probably should have done my switch ones because those are the ones that they affect a little bit more. So really quickly, I want to get into what I like and what I don't like. So I love the grip, I love the board feel. I'm probably going to keep these around for tranny shoes. What I don't like is how thin the soles feel when I land primo. I don't like how floppy they feel. They make my knees and ankles hurt because of the way my feet feel like they're flopping inwards. I don't like it when my board hits me in the feet. But I do like all the extra meat on the toes for lofting regular footed kickflips. For fine kickflips, I have a bit of trouble, but for lofting big fat kickflips, I like them. Switch ones, like I said, there's a little bit too much here and I have a little bit of trouble because I don't have as strong a flicking foot on my switch foot. So, I hope you found this review useful if you're thinking about trying out a pair of Vans Old Skools. If you're an older skater, they may hurt your feet. You may want to consider different insoles, or you may want to consider something more padded altogether. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you guys ever have any additional questions or you want to ask me something totally else, you can find me on Instagram. I will post the link in the description below. And it's been a pleasure doing another review. Thanks for watching.